Before getting started, this video is available ad-free in an audio podcast form on locals.com, which is basically just a better form of Patreon to help support the channel outside of ad revenue. Also, my entire content library is available on Odyssey, which is a platform alternative to YouTube for anyone wishing to support alt tech for free. Links are down below in the description. Okay, so today I want to start off with a game. The game is called Guess the Title of This Article, and I'm going to read a couple of paragraphs to give you a hint. A lot of people might already know because it's been making the rounds as of late on a number of commentary channels, but I still wanted to add my own voice, and also, it's not the only example to draw from. We actually have 2 rounds of Guess the Article to be played today because it's Kotaku. Here we go. What is the title of this article? Quote, "The world is still reeling under the weight of the COVID-19 pandemic. There are more Americans out of work right now than at any point in the country's history, with no relief in sight. Our healthcare system is an inherently evil institution that forces people to ration life-saving medications like insulin and choose suicide over suffering with untreated mental illness." As I'm writing this, it looks very likely that Joe Biden will be our next president, but it's clear that the worst people aren't going away just because a new, old, white man is sitting behind the Resolute desk. Well, at least not this old white man. Our government is fundamentally broken in a way that necessitates radical change rather than incremental electoralism. So, what's it about? A. American civil unrest. B. The COVID-19 pandemic. C. The US presidential race. Or D. A PS5 review. Jeopardy theme, cause copyright. Can you guess what stupid article this is? Even though I'll probably still get claimed, cause Sony produced it and they suck bad. It's D. It's a PS5 review. Yes, it really is. Now, to be fair, the article at the very least does cover hardware features earlier on. There's a previous section that pertains to the SSD component, ray tracing, all sorts of things one would expect to see in a PS5 review, but the fact that I can read 2 consecutive paragraphs without a single mention of the device, or anything even remotely pertaining to the device, paragraphs that call for radical change in American government, paragraphs that disparage and condemn the presidential office and the old white men who hold it, or even a partisan take on the healthcare system that calls our healthcare in America, a wide-reaching system that saves lives with increasing efficiency, causing the average mortality rate by age and disease type to dramatically lower over time, the article manages to call it an inherently evil institution, rather than an institution that possesses flaws but fundamentally exists to save lives. This is a PS5 review, and the entire ending 4 paragraphs are no better. Quote, "The harsh truth is that, for the reasons listed above and more, a lot of people simply won't be able to buy a PlayStation 5, regardless of supply. Or if they can, concerns over increasing austerity in the United States and the growing threat of widespread political violence supersede any enthusiasm about the console's SSD or how ray tracing makes reflections more realistic. That's not to say you can't be excited for those things. I certainly am, on some level. But there is an irrefutable level of privilege attached to the ability to simply tune out the world as it burns around you. I won't deny that video games can be an escape. It feels great to lose yourself in a fictional world where you can fix everything. Some of us see a strength or personality trait in video game characters that we wish we saw in ourselves. As much as it sucks for real-world problems to intrude on that space, I found it increasingly difficult to focus on video games amid our current situation. Many nights, it's all I can do to play a couple rounds of Spelunky before collapsing into bed for a few hours of doom scrolling and restless sleep, and I know I'm not alone in that feeling. We are collectively tired, and for good reason. I know I'm reading a bunch of this trash, but there's just one more paragraph. Sony and Microsoft chose a hell of a time to release their next-generation video game consoles. I think the PlayStation 5 is a great machine, but it's tough to recommend when folks are literally fighting for their lives while residing in the richest country in the world. I was very lucky to receive a PlayStation... This guy got a PlayStation 5 in order to write this article. I was very lucky to receive a PlayStation 5 for the purposes of this review, despite the fact that I am comfortable enough to have bought one on my own." End quote. This has got to be the worst piece of journalism I have ever read since starting the channel multiple years ago. Video games exist to allow escapism. The entire format, a format that has been vindictively under siege by journalists like this one for years now, is to allow people to lose themselves in digital worlds that are not constrained by the laws, rules, or problems of the physical and exist entirely in the digital. That ability is apparently so abhorrent that journalistic machines seek to utterly destroy it, and the PS5, a new piece of hardware that is by no means essential to anyone for any reason, is being disparaged because it costs money, and some people don't have money. It allows you to think about something else once in a while, God forbid, but bad things are happening, so you can't do that. Come on. And I genuinely find myself in awe of just how mentally inadequate this journalist really is. I am in shock at the incomprehensible lack of all intellectual or especially emotional fortitude. And I know it's almost a meme now among the very audience I serve that any of these outlets ever be taken seriously, but this is a new low. This really is the bottom of the barrel. But we're not done. Yay, I know everyone's happy. Let's play round 2. Guess what this article is about? Quote, I get skeeved out in games too. Older games sometimes feature certain triggering textures in objects or on walls. For more modern games, a recent example for me is Resident Evil 7. Negative spaces that look like holes can freak me out, and there are a ton of maggots in the game. Believe it or not, actual maggots don't bother me. It's the space between the swarm of them that sets me off. Humans are weird. Devora from Mortal Kombat 11 is also a problem. She's one of my favorite new characters, but she has a move that unleashes bugs from her chest, and the holes, man, I can't do it. End quote. What is this article about? Is it A, crippling phobias, B, the vent on an Xbox, C, the psychology of game design, or D, the effects of games on players with PTSD? Time to sing the Jeopardy theme. Content ID is dumb on YouTube, and these articles are worse, and they suck so bad. Guess which one is the title? It's B. The whole thing is about the vent on the new Xbox and how it is triggering, so Microsoft should change it. And I'm not kidding. I wish I was, but I'm not. Quote, I could employ similar strategies for the Series X that I did for my computer. I could try to hide it in my entertainment console. Standing the console vertically would also obscure the vent. If I absolutely had to have a Series X, I could make it work. But why should I suffer having a triggering object in my home when I could just own a whole free PlayStation 5 instead? Your move, Microsoft. End quote. The entire point is about an affliction called trypophobia. Now, I'm not going to show the kind of stuff that would trigger someone who has it because that's mean and kind of uncalled for, but I'm honestly just going to say flat out here, some people really need to buckle down and steel themselves against things that they don't like. I'm scared of spiders, I really am. Would I let one crawl on me? No, but if one's got to get stomped, well, it's got to get stomped. I don't creep into the corner sobbing because sometimes in life you just need to get over it. Some things, yeah, you don't deserve sympathy. Get over it. Anyone who might suddenly become afraid of Swiss cheese and be unable to have it in their home or just have a crippling meltdown, yeah, they sound like a wonderful time at parties. And we should totally restructure the heating vents on electronics to prevent them from becoming triggered. That's quality journalism. That's the real stuff that makes the industry turn. It's difficult for me to envision credibility in someone who is afraid of, like, pine cones. Real problems exist in the world, and not just the world, but gaming as well, especially. Quality issues, manufacturing issues, pricing issues, the list goes on and on. The last thing that deserves publication space on any reputable media outlet page is an entire article about why the heating vent on the Xbox Series X is mildly triggering, so it needs to be covered with paper. But why do that? Because the vent should have holes. The vent shouldn't have holes in it at all. The heating vent, shouldn't have holes in it in the first place. Change it for me. I get triggered. This is Kotaku. Their discussion of the PS5 derails into a cry for radical governmental overthrow or change, and a claim that healthcare in the United States is inherently evil. Their discussion of the Xbox Series X gets framed around why the little holes in the heating vent trigger their writer. And these two paragons of journalistic quality get released within 24 hours of each other on the same week by different writers. I find it difficult to envision a world where Kotaku could have any less credibility, but that world clearly exists because here we are. This is Kotaku. Want a PS5? Too bad. Our government sucks. We need to overthrow the system, and some people are poor, so Sony is the bad guy for releasing a system, and I cry myself to sleep at night while doom scrolling social media instead of writing competent articles because I have the emotional fortitude of a twice-fucked avocado. Want an Xbox Series X? The heat vent triggers me. I want it gone. I shouldn't have to deal with it, and when I see honeycomb on the TV, I go fetal. So take me seriously. I'm a reputable journalist from Kotaku. The standards in gaming media are already low. They have been for a long time, but last week we really set a new bar. Welcome. This is Kotaku. By the way, these are the people getting hardware to review early from major, publishing studio. They get these hardware consoles early, and these are the types of reviews and articles that they write with that privileged access. Think about that part for like 5 minutes without getting utterly annoyed. But that's it. If you want to support, there are links down below, merch, locals, Odyssey, another gaming YouTuber to check out as well, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.